Phil Spencer just gave an interview with the Kinda Funny Games folk, and I gotta say, I love what I heard from them. I absolutely loved it. Phil Spencer didn't pull any punches. He really came out and gave his honest thoughts on things like Redfall, on things like frame rate, on the showcase, on the disappointment that he felt. I think that this is really a genuine thing. And I know a lot of people look at me and go, oh, well, you really like the console war or whatever like that. I actually don't. I prefer just to be able to play games and just be able to have fun with my games. The problem is I get invigorated by the hate that Xbox gets. What I mean by that is, you guys might notice a little bit of change on the channel, and that's because I see a lot of the same hatred towards Xbox that I did back in 2013, 2014 when I started doing this, right? So in a decade time, nothing's really changed. Like, Microsoft has made all these brilliant changes, went totally away from what the Xbox One did, the missteps there, and yet they still get even more hate in some instances for some of the things that happens. But again, this is really good to see that you have a boss like Phil Spencer going out there, apologizing, saying, hey, I'm disappointed in this stuff as well. He apologized for Redfall, claims that Xbox was expecting better reviews. So again, Xbox boss Phil Spencer has apologized for the launch state of its latest big first-party release and claimed that developer Arcane will work on improvements for the game. Now, the first major Xbox exclusive from Bethesda launched this week with a number of issues and has generally been received poorly, with a 62 score on Metacritic. Now, the co-op shooter has user scores of just 2.6 and 1.9 out of 10. Addressing Redfall's disappointing reception in a new interview with Kinda Funny Games, Microsoft's head of gaming claimed the platform holder did not expect such a negative reception to the game, citing internal mock reviews which allegedly suggested it could have received much higher scores. So again, I like to point that out because, again, if you look at some of the reviews that this game has, some of the reviews are like 9s or 8s, and people really love the game. And also, I know people that are playing through the game every day, and they're absolutely loving the game. So I'm not saying that it's a game that should be higher than a 62. Obviously, people have problems with it. I'm just saying it's easy to pile on to Xbox, and when stuff like this happens, it's a real shame, you know. And I think that Phil owning up to it really kind of makes all the difference in the world. And this wasn't the only thing that he said. I mean, being disappointed, but also he kept it extremely real. I think that it really shows the difference between like a Phil Spencer and a Jim Ryan, that he came out and said stuff like this, because like, could you imagine Jim Ryan doing an interview like this just on a channel and answering real tough questions like, hey, haven't you guys done a first party showcase in 2 years? Why haven't you guys done that? I think that, you know, this is like a real type situation where Phil really shows his strong suits, sort of as sort of what's going on versus PlayStation. He said, there's nothing more difficult for me than disappointing the Xbox community. I've been part of it for a long time. I obviously work on Xbox. I'm head of the business. I have a lot of friends and get a lot of feedback, and just kind of watch the community lose confidence, be disappointed in, and I'm disappointed. I'm upset with myself. He also added, we do mock reviews for every game that we launch, and this is a double digits lower than what we thought we would be with this game through those. This is one of the disappointing things. We would never strive to launch a game that we thought was going to review in the low 60s. It's not part of our goals. If you look at our review scores from the past, and this is not a defense at all, I think that teams have done a better job in upping the level of quality of games that we've shipped, and this game was significantly below our internal metrics compared to where it actually reviewed. But that's not on anybody but us. We have to own that. Spencer also claimed that Bethesda and developer Arcane will continue to support Redfall, as Rare has done with Sea of Thieves, another first-party co-op title which was initially criticized at launch. In terms of our commitment to the game, absolutely. The team at Arcane is taking a near-term feedback. We're working on the 60 frames per second update. We have a good timeline for that, and we're going to continue to work on the game. We've shown commitment to games like Sea of Thieves and Grounded to continue to go and build games. But I also know that these are $70 games, and I'm going to take full responsibility for launching a game that needs to be great. We let a lot of people down this week with the launch of the game, but we will continue to strive on. You have to do that. That's what creativity is all about. Now, later in the interview, he was asked to reflect on lessons that Xbox could take from Redfall, and Spencer said he believes a platform holder should have done more early in the game's development in terms of providing assistance to Arcade and setting expectations for what a first-party game needs to deliver. He said, and I quote, "When we acquire studios, there are games that are in development, and then there are things that are either really early in development or not even conceived yet. I think we need to improve in engaging with games that are midway through production when they become a part of Xbox. I do think there's a different expectation for a game and the team when you've been third party and all of a sudden you become first party. There's a different expectations in terms of how you're going to perform on our console, and I think there's a different competitive set when people look at this game and say, hey, I want this game to feel as competitive as this other game on another console platform. And we didn't do a good job of that early on, engaging Arcane Austin to really help them understand what it meant to be part of Xbox and part of first party, and use some of our internal resources to help them move along that journey even faster. We left them to work on the game. They're a very talented team. I love that team, and I still do, and I will totally bet on them to do another great game. So yeah, he's basically confirming here that by the time Microsoft bought this team, they were, midway point of development of the game, and they didn't really offer them a bunch of support. Now, I will say that's sort of the opposite of what they've done with Bethesda and Starfield, as they sent engineers to actually help optimize the game for Xbox. That could have been something that they did with this team as well, or let another team assist them, and I hope that that's something that they do in the future. So, again, it's just one of those things where I think this is interesting. But when Xbox Game Studios head Matt Booty and ZeniMax president Jamie Leader sat down, I think we can engage earlier with our different studios, and I think there's going to be a difference when we come in and the creative is already set on the game, and that's not washing our hands. Every game we ship from our teams is an Xbox game, so we take full responsibility for it. Spencer also said that he believes the platform holder did a better job with Bethesda's other 2023 release, the upcoming sci-fi RPG Starfield, in terms of assisting development, because the game was earlier in production when Xbox acquired it. We should have been there for Redfall co-creative director Harvey Smith and the team earlier. I think that's on us. And then through the process, it's an Unreal Engine game, and we have a bunch of studios that have done some really great work on Unreal over the years, and I think we were too late to help in that we had certain issues. Finally, Spencer said that while there are clearly things that can be improved on Xbox Game Studios' product delivery process, he won't force development teams to stick to making the type of games that they have a track record for. Redfall is a vampire looter shooter, a genre that's new to creator Arcane, which is known for its critically acclaimed immersive sim series Dishonored. I kind of revisit our process. I think back to the announcement of 60 frames per second, and then we weren't shipping 60 frames, and that kind of was our punch on the chin, rightfully so, a couple of weeks ago. And then seeing the game come out and the critical response was not what we wanted, and it's disappointing. So I kind of picked myself up. What can we learn? How can we get better? One thing I'll fight is kind of what went wrong. There's clearly quality and execution things we can do, but one thing I won't do is push against the creative aspirations of our teams. I know a lot of people will say, hey, you've got teams know how to do one kind of game, just force them to go do one kind of game, and they have a proven track record, and I'm just not a believer in that. Maybe that means I'll under-deliver for some of our fans out there, but when a team like Rare wants to do Sea of Thieves, when a team like Obsidian wants to go do Grounded, when Tango wants to do Hi-Fi Rush, when everybody probably thought they were doing Evil Within 3, I want to give teams the creative platform to go and push their ability, push their aspirations. But I also need to have a great selection of games that continue to come that surprise and delight our fans, and we under-delivered on that, and for that I apologize. It's not what I expect, not what I want, but it's ours to deliver. So again, he's out there being as honest as he can be. I feel like it's pretty clear at this point that, he makes a really good point. People will say it's damage control, but he's right. Tango could have done Evil Within 3, but they did Hi-Fi Rush, which was great. And, Obsidian did Grounded, which I know people don't talk about it much, but that game is great. It might not be your thing specifically, but it is pretty damn great. And it is nice to see that these teams are able to do these other types of games. And I think Phil is right. He also said something like, we're going to ship games that score in the 80s, we're going to ship games that score in the 60s, and if you're afraid of that, then you're in the wrong business. And what I think he meant by that is, you can't be afraid to take risks. you have to go out there, you have to take risks, you have to be able to have some of those things that maybe won't score as good as you hoped. And I think he's 100% right there, you know. I mean, look at Sony, for instance, and I gave this as a perfect example. It doesn't get any better than this example. Days Gone was a good game. I liked it. It was a 71 rated game. That's not a great rating. Sony will not let them do a sequel because of the possibility of a low rated game. So they have to go and do something else. Now, again, that's a problem. I feel like you have to be able to take chances and take risks. I'm going to link this. You guys can check it out. You guys can even check out the full interview with Phil. I think it was really, really good. I liked what he had to say. I can't wait to see what the future holds. Let me know what you guys think. Rack 'em up. Please subscribe. Please like the video. Crap Gamer out.